Hello and welcome to Ground Control. The item for review today is the REDCON CM421 2.4 gigahertz 4-channel full range DSM2 compatible receiver. I bought this number one because it's a 4-channel and I was looking for a 4-channel receiver, and since my transmitter is able to use DSM2, and since this little guy is extremely small and it's light and it's supposed to be a full range receiver, I wanted to put it into my Ground Control scratch build F22 Micro version 1, which had a receiver go out of it in flight about 3 months ago. So it's been about 3 months since I've flown this plane. As you can see, I already have one of those receivers in the plane, but I wanted to go over the bind procedure of this little receiver to get it set up. Excuse me, to get it set for Failsafe, and then we'll go out and do a test flight of this little plane with this receiver and see how well it performs. Make sure that we don't have any brownouts on it. On the signal pins are all the upper pins. You can see how I've got the cables from the ESC and all the servos connected, and the leftmost set of pins is your battery and for your bind plug, and then the channels go throttle, aileron, elevator, and rudder for those 4 channels. And since this little guy only uses 2 control surfaces and it does elevon mixing, I'm only using 2 channels for the servos, 1 channel for the throttle, of course, and that still leaves 1 channel open. Plus I can use the battery bind plug to power a micro FPV system with it. So this little guy works out perfect for these micro planes. I've got a little 2-cell battery here. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we've got all of our controls on our transmitter zeroed, including our throttle. And when this comes up into bind mode, when it binds with the transmitter, depending on how your controls are located, that's what it's going to set its failsafe to. So on an airplane, I want the failsafe to be set with 0 throttle, and I want it to 0 all of the other control surfaces. So I'm going to leave everything in neutral except for the throttle, which is going to be all the way down. So the first thing you want to do is you want to power up the receiver first. Okay, I should get a blink. We got a blinking orange light there. I'm going to power on my transmitter, and then I'm going to put the transmitter into bind mode, and I already have a fixed code set up. You can use a fixed code or you can use a random code. Okay, so now it's in bind mode, and you can see the flashing light went out, the fast flashing light. Now it's flashing slow, and then after a few seconds we should get a solid light, and you just saw that the servos initiated. So right now we are bound to the transmitter, and all of our control surfaces for failsafe should have set to 0 with the throttle all the way down to 0. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to disconnect the power from the receiver. We want to remove the bind plug. We can power the receiver back on, and we should get bind, and then we'll test our servos on all the channels. Okay, so we're bound. We've got a steady orange light. You can see that I've got the aileron channel going. There's the elevator channel. And there's the rudder channel. So everything's working great. So now what I'm going to do is test that these all go back to the neutral position. When I shut off the power on the transmitter, it should kick in failsafe. So I'm going to turn off the transmitter now. And they did not go to neutral. Okay, so I tried several different procedures with this CM421 4-channel receiver to get it to recognize my control positions, make sure that it programmed a failsafe. I made sure that I had all the channels programmed for Failsafe in the transmitter. Nothing seems to work in programming this receiver into Failsafe mode. I've tried powering on the transmitter first, powering this on, powering it on with the bind plug-in. I've rebounded 4 or 5 times, gone through the procedure of getting it set up to where it has a pre-programmed fail-safe, and that never worked. The other thing that I noticed was, at least on this one, I'm getting a solid light. I also have the one that's already installed in this plane. The fail-safe programming did not work on this 421 either, so I don't know if they've got a bad batch, if their procedure is incorrect, if anybody is having luck and getting failsafe programmed on these receivers. Please put it in the comments so everybody else will know. The other thing I noticed, that even when this is bound, I still get a slow flashing orange light. Now, that typically means that you're having transmission errors if it's not solid. So, but every time that I, move a control on the transmitter, it's initiated fine on the plane. So I'm not exactly sure, why I'm getting this flashing orange light on here that normally tells you you're getting a weak signal, that you're starting to get transmission errors. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this in here, and I'm going to go out. I'm going to test fly this plane with this receiver and see, if it responds the way it should. If this thing is just giving me a blinking orange light for no reason whatsoever. As far as I can tell, it seems to be operating fine, other than the fact that neither one of these will go into fail-safe mode. So let's go out, do a test flight of this plane. I need to test fly the plane anyway. Hopefully I won't have another problem with the receiver going out, but we'll find out. So I'll see you out at the field, and we'll throw it in the air. Okay, so you saw the test flight with the REDCON CM421 receiver. I did pull the antenna up between the fuselage and the canopy cover so that it was pointing straight up and above the fuselage. Now, I didn't have any problems in flight. Of course, I'm only flying about 160 meters away, probably maximum, from where I was standing with the radio. All my inputs, were immediately initiated by the receiver. The plane was extremely responsive. It didn't have any problems with the receiver in flight. I probably would not have tested that receiver in a new plane, since this one's already been nosed in a couple of times because of other component failures. I went ahead and put it in here for the test flight, but one thing I don't like is the fact that I was unable to program Failsafe on here. I do not like flying an aircraft without having an active Failsafe in place. I've never been able to take advantage of it. It's always been some other component failure or the receiver completely failed, but I like having that, that bit of insurance on those receivers if I lose radio contact with it, where it would automatically shut down the throttle and level out all the control surfaces, so at least I can save my plane. The other thing that I didn't like is that this receiver, unlike the other one that I was setting up on the video, does not have a solid orange light. It continually blinks like it's having a transmission error, although in flight it didn't seem to have any transmission errors. So I don't know what's going on with that receiver. It performed as it should have. The fact that you cannot trust the LED readout on the receiver to know whether it's stable or whether it's not stable. The fact that you can't program Failsafe, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. It's a very inexpensive receiver. I like the fact that it's 4-channel because that's what I wanted. I like the fact that it's small and it's lightweight for these little microplanes. I weighed this one on my digital scale. It weighed 2.8 grams, and I think in the directions it said, or in the description it said 3 grams. So that's pretty close. I don't know that I would trust it for a more expensive plane, or even a new scratch build plane. I don't know if I would trust one of these receivers. So there you go. If anybody out there has a working procedure that will put these things in fail-safe mode, let me know so I could publish it, or leave your procedure in the comment section so that everybody can benefit from that. I tried different variations of the procedure that was posted on the vendor site for this receiver, as well as REDCON's website. They're the ones that manufacture it. The procedure was exactly the same on their site. So, but that procedure does not work, nor does any variation of that procedure work that I tried. So, if it fails anytime in the near future, I'll follow up in the notes and let everybody know that it is an unreliable receiver. If it does not and continues to perform well, I will let you know that too. So thanks for watching. I hope this was informative. Give a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.